mental, being a certain mental attitude, a certain way of thinking, a certain way of believing, an uplifting process, a belief in God. Some prayers fall short of this state, while others reach a state of spiritual awareness. We come to understand, then, that the answer to a prayer is in the prayer when it is prayed. The belief of the one praying sets in motion the law of love, which is the fundamental law of the universe. So he wants to suggest to us that our prayer is the answer. Our prayer works us through to that state of knowingness, that state of acceptance, and that state of receiving. And you hear when we talk about prayer, affirmative prayer, in Science of Mind, it's not necessarily the words that you use. The words help shape what's going on in your experience, but the words move into the emotional heart space. And this is where, in knowing the truth about who you are, in knowing that you have the power to bring into manifestation your goodness, this is where the prayer takes place. And the moment you sit down and decide to pray, to do an affirmative prayer, that moment, it's already done. I think that's fascinating, and I like to play on that a lot. I always think when the prayer, after service on Sunday, some of us go in to do prayer circle right after service, and I'm in there, when I do it, I'm in there sitting and I'm waiting for the folks to come in. And I have a feeling that they've been thinking about what they would like to demonstrate in their life. Even before they get in the room, I know they've been thinking about what's going on, right? So it's been on their mind all morning or all week. And I know that they're coming prepared in the prayer room. They're coming prepared to discuss what they want to demonstrate. So your mindset, your mind is already sharpened and focused on what you're going to want as a result of your prayer work. And I sit in there and I go, oh my God, these people have already done the prayer work. You follow? They're already in the mindset of what their demonstration will be. They don't even have to come in. They don't know it yet. They do not know it yet. And I wish someday I'll say, you guys have already done the work. Go and have a good Sunday. And they'll freak out. You all freak out. Go, no, I haven't done all the work. I didn't say all the words. I didn't write down the treatment request form. I didn't get the stuff in process, in motion. This is what he talks about here, setting the law in motion. And of course we'll say, no, you have already. Your mind already accepted, recognized and accepted the truth of what you wanted to experience. Is that not interesting? So I know it's really important to do meditation and to do the 5 steps of treatment and to work through all the details. But really what we want to teach you is that the healing takes place when you get to the knowingness. And that can be in 1 second, half a second. Ernest Holmes goes on to say, healing is not creating a perfect idea of a perfect body. It is revealing an idea which is already perfect. You see, it's not creating the idea, it's already there. It's revealing it. This is a tricky concept for a lot of new students. We want to use affirmative statements to shape a new concept. But the truth is the concept's already there in you, and it needs to just be revealed. It doesn't take much work if you see it that way. He says healing is not a process, it's a revelation through the thought of the practitioner or you to the thought of the patient or you. There may be a process in healing, but not a process of healing. The process in healing is the mental work and the time it takes to practice, the practitioner to convince himself of the perfectness of himself, and the length of time it takes the patient or you to realize this perfection. This section that we're reading in the Science of Mind textbook has a lot to do with practitioners. And we always like to remind people, practitioners are licensed kind of like prayer people in our center, and they've been trained to work with you. We mentioned them earlier. And so Ernest Holmes is big on people developing their practitioner skills so they can step in and be of great service. But every one of us is a practitioner in our own lives. Every one of us. Okay. this is from Ernest Holmes. If your own thought is clear and you are able to realize the presence of Spirit in yourself, your prayer work will be effective. Through the proper use of the great subjective law, you can impress a definite idea upon it, and if you do, and do not withdraw that idea or neutralize it by an opposite one, the law will bring it into manifestation. Now that's a lot of words to suggest this really simple idea. When you guys come up with the intention that you want in your life, and you hold to it, you see it clearly in your mind and know where and what you want to demonstrate in your life. Now for sure, many of you, as soon as you create that great picture of what you're after, might negate it with negative thoughts thereafter. Anyone have that experience? So you might say, I want a new car. And then you say, okay, it has to be red, and it has to be this big and this size, and do this and this and this. And you get this beautiful picture of what the vehicle is going to look like. And then what might be your next thought in your mind? You might say, oh, how could I afford it? Or how could I pay the insurance? Or is it going to get dinged or damaged? Or how can I pay for the gas? You see how we might do that? Or if you want a relationship, and with a little bit of conversation, you can picture the greatest person that's going to come into your life. And then what might be the next thought that you might have that might negate it? You might think, oh, my apartment's too messy. Can't have anybody over. I saw a movie last night, and that was the big thing, you know. The guy was on the phone with a potential girlfriend, and he was like, he was getting advice from his friend about how to woo her and have her come over for a date. And as soon as he hung up the phone, he goes, oh my God, I can't have anybody here. So he didn't ruin. He negated the demonstration that was about to happen in his life, which is a really loving, kind of exciting thing, with some anxiety and fear. You know, we do that a lot. And we might do that with health. I just had an eye doctor's appointment last week, which was kind of an intense experience for me. And I was afraid before I went into the eye doctor. And I had talked with people and worked with people, and I even sent out a request to the practitioners for some prayer work, because I knew this was a big thing for me. So I'm human, and I'm thinking I better get ahead of myself here, because I want a good outcome. And so I still went to the doctor's appointment, and I was still nervous. And he did all the tests, which took like an hour, and all these pictures, and he says, oh, it looks great. It hasn't changed since last time. You know, and that should be a good diagnosis, right? Actually, and for a moment I said, oh my God, that's great. Actually, this is a good, stable situation. I'm so grateful. And then I knew on my way out the doctor's office, I said to myself, and here's where I get challenged, I said, boy, I'm going to be just as nervous next year. Right? Right? Because my mind went back to that moment of walking in. You see, it was a human thing. And I connected with the fear and nervousness when I walked in. And I said that. Now, I'm so grateful today that I can find it right away in my mind that I did it, turn it around and acknowledge it and release it, and then joke about it, because it's a human experience. And so you know, no matter what the issue is, but especially around physical healing, when something is really battling you, and you feel like you're at war with it, and you might even be on the losing side, when that feels like it's happening in your life, you probably are going to be on the losing side if you don't step into it and recognize the truth about who you are and change your thinking about it. If you think you're on the losing side, where are you? On the losing side. It's kind of the conundrum we learn in Science of Mind, because what we think is really what we're manifesting. So my experience says to you, when you have that realization, when you might feel that moment that you're on the losing side, that the battle feels lost, when that takes place, you really have one thing to do, and that's to reach out. Reach out to yourself, or to your spiritual practice, or to a practitioner, or your minister, or to a friend. It's your job then at that moment to reach out and see if you can find a lifeline.